Good evening to the 160 people now watching. Oh, very exciting. It's a lot of people. I am now on my 11th devlog, which means I can no longer count the amount of devlogs on my fingers. we're gonna have to go back to 1. So with that in mind, a few things. I know last week's wasn't super impressive, just because it was mostly like it was interaction. It was the interaction like system. So it was a system that I borrowed from a tutorial. So I just didn't have a lot to show off. Now, if you were to contrast that with this week, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. So this is my third time recording it, because the first time my parents were calling me down for dinner, and the second time I realized I was on my face cam the whole time, which is about the second time that this fucking disgrace had sabotaged an entire video. So I'm just gonna move on to this right now, so that way we don't have to think about it. We don't even have to worry about it. Alright? So this is what we're looking at now. In terms of the hospital, as you might have noticed, I've done some modeling. I figured out how to use trench broom, and that was really fucking helpful. I was able to get the layout of this whole thing in like one day. I sketched it out on Procreate, and what did I do? I drew the textures on Procreate, and then I just like made the map. So a little tour of the hospital here. We have the restrooms and interaction menu coming in handy. You can open and close doors now, so that's a cool thing. They have collision on them, so that's the male restroom, and here's the female restroom. There we go. Nice. And we got a cafe over here. It's gonna be a mess pretty soon here, but not to worry about that too much quite yet. We'll talk about that next week. Here in here we have salted bagels. We have raspberry and cheese danishes, as well as 2 assortments of cinnamon buns here that are overpriced. Wow, very exciting. Very in character for hospital food. Now over here we have a X-ray room here where you can get your X-ray taken. Oh, Jesus! Wow, that was. Funny thing about the last time I caught my house going through an earthquake in real time. So here, I'll just play the clip. Yes. So I also found the outline model button. There's a button in Godot called Create Model Outline, and it's my favorite button of all time. I love that button. It's a great button. I recommend everybody should check out that button. It allows for really smooth. Oh, I think an earthquake just hit. Jesus. Oh, that's kind of funny. Well, but check that out. Yeah, so that was really shocking. I thought that was kind of funny. But here we have lead vests. And open up the door, and we have the radiation room here. And I need to move that slightly to the left, because it's not a very useful door. You can turn on the computers. You can move around the desk chairs occasionally if the collision works. You can see that the lights I have are really nice. Very hospital lighty. And here we have like an actual checkup room. This is for longer term stays, like we'll say 5 hours, 6 hours, maybe even 7 hours. And over here we have the immediate, the immediate checkup things. We have an IV here, as well as the stand-up computer, as well as the desk chair. These curtain rooms, these are for like 2 to 3 hours for minor-ish injuries. Now over here, we have a sort of IT center where, maybe we have some nurses paging doctors here. We'll have people running the numbers, people running inventory, all that sort of thing is going to happen in this main kiosk here. I might move it a little bit more centered, just that way it looks a little bit, or maybe I'll separate it a little bit more, like have this half a little bit over here, and then I think that might make the room a little bit more nice. And then here we have a pharmacy going. And you can open and close the curtains. I like that. That's the interaction system coming in handy here. And over here we have the main ER waiting area. This is one of my favorite areas because it's very easy to make and still feels very polished despite that fact. Like I didn't do a lot of work to make it look like this, and yet it still looks nice. So that's why I like it. And here's the main entrance. So that's mostly what I have to show off. I know, yet again, it's nothing too particularly impressive. However, I do think that I've done a lot more work this week than I did last week, and so hopefully this is a little bit more entertaining. I know this wasn't a particularly long video. Where are we at? 6 minutes, pushing 7. So I guess that's gonna be it. I wasn't expecting it to be too long. I think the longer one will probably be next week, because that's when we'll start be talking about like monsters and enemies and entities that are wandering around the hallway, and maybe even get into some of that gameplay, But for now, we were just setting the scene for next week. So today's wasn't as long, but it also wasn't nothing. So that was all in the span of 4 days, by the way. All of that 4 days worth of work was the culmination of that. On Wednesday, video's over, so end card. Yep, there it is. So Wednesday, we're going to be talking about open worlds. That's going to be our media analysis for the week. And then on Friday, we'll be finishing up the Blender tutorial with bezier curves and animation, as well as, rigging. I think rigging is really easy, and animation is really easy. Bezier curves are really easy. It's just all 3 of them are really tedious. That's the biggest issue you have with the 3 of them, is that they're just tedious. So we'll be talking about that on Friday, and that's it. Enjoy the rest of your night. I'll be watching to make sure in your closet, in the shadows. Every time you look away, that's where I am, in the corner of your eye where you're not seeing. That's where I will be to make sure you have a good night. And no!